Can the Dallas Cowboys win their third game in a row this season? All that and more in this episode of the Locked On Cowboys podcast.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can follow him on Twitter at McCoolBCB. On today's show, we are discussing the Bengals-Cowboys Monday Night Football matchup. And Landon, let's start with Joe Burrow, who is having an MVP-like season on one of the league's worst teams. If the Cowboys win this game, they're going to have to slow down Burrow. Easier said than done. How do they accomplish it tonight?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Like, I think I tweeted at you or some sort of social media platform. I went at you and said, going into this last weekend, Joe Burrow was number one in attempts, completions, yards per game, touchdowns, and doing all of that while also being number 5 overall in quarterback success rate. He's a high volume passer who is also a successful passer, right? Which is pretty rare, right? Like, you don't see it. What's rare is that you know, usually high volume passers are playing on teams that are not very good. And that may be the case with Joe Burrow, but you don't see them usually being such high volume passers with such a high level of success. That's what makes this sort of situation rare. I think for the Cowboys, like, this is, you know, the path to victory, the way to win this game is very straightforward. I think that it all lines up very much with what the Cowboys want to do, are built to do. The question is, can they do it? Like, that's the real question, right? The clear way to win this game, in my opinion, is to keep the ball away from Joe Burrow. Like, I mean, he's playing like an MVP right now. He's got 2 outstanding, you know, I would say, honestly, probably top 5 wide receivers on either side of the field. He's got a receiving tight end who's dangerous as a third option. Really, the way to kind of keep him from just absolutely exploding is, like I said, having the offense kind of contain the ball with the run game, which we can talk about more later, and then, you know, attacking Joe Burrow in the pocket, which has been a lot easier said than done at this point. He's done a really good job of kind of navigating the pocket, but I think, you know, when you look at this offensive units, you look at where the strengths and weaknesses are. All the strengths are in their wide receiver, tight end, quarterback situation. Their offensive line right now is an absolute mess and is an area that the Cowboys should be targeting tonight in the game.
And it's been a mess for the last several weeks. Orlando Brown has missed a big chunk of the season. He came back last week against the Steelers. He wasn't right. He left that game. He's not playing this week. But over the last 4 games against 3 of the best defenses in the league, Ravens, Chargers, Steelers, he's thrown for at least 300 yards in all 3 games with at least 3 touchdowns in all 3 games. If you look at his last 4 total games, he's thrown for 1,400 yards and 15 touchdowns with 1 interception over the last 4 games. And that is with injuries galore on the offensive line. One of the things we've seen from Burrow is that when Higgins and Chase are healthy, his numbers are bonkers. I mean, he's averaging like 9 yards an attempt. He's just pushing the ball down the field. This is going to be the best quarterback play the Cowboys have faced all season. And it might be the best quarterback they've faced in several years. Like, this is going to be a tough task for their defense.
Yeah, as far as just in the pocket passing quarterback, like, this is by far the best they played probably this season and probably in a little while, like you said. I think, it lines up very cleanly, right? Like, the Cowboys should be attacking Burrows and trying to, you know, hurry the passes, not allowing him the opportunity to throw the ball down the field. And I think that, you know, going into the season, the Bengals identified that as potential an issue. And that's why they got Amarius Mims and
Mhm.
both of the Orlandos, both of which are over 6'7" and 350 pounds. And
Yep.
now they've lost both of the Orlandos, right? That's 700 pounds worth of offensive tackle that's gone. Mims is coming in and has played, I would say, up and down, but certainly not dominant for the little stretch of the season. And then they've got kind of a who's playing left tackle situation. They're rotating a guard and a couple other guys. So, it certainly is not a best case scenario for them on the left tackle or really, frankly, in the interior. But the thing is that has like kind of belied all this injury and really has, I think, been a benefit to them in some ways is that you and I were talking about before the show, the difference between Joe Burrow this season in the pocket versus previous seasons, I think is enormous. And I think it's really what's taken his game to the next level is that instead of feeling like he has to escape out of the pocket and create with new angles, now he's escaping into the pocket. He's stepping up into the pocket, buying himself some more time with pocket navigation, not getting out of the pocket too early, and then allowing guys like Higgins and Chase to kind of break free open down the field and throwing into those windows. So I think that one of the benefits of the injuries and the offensive line situation is that it's forced Burrow to kind of deal with that aspect. And I think it's kind of taken his passing game to another level.
Again, I know PFF grades are not everything, but this is the Bengals offensive line going into week 14 and their grades. Cody Ford, 53.1, Volson, 58.4, Ted Karras, their center, 60.8, Alex Kappa, 53, 67th out of 73 qualifying guards, and Amarius Mims, 59.3. Their offensive line is bad. And this is a game in which Micah Parsons and Osa Digizua should dominate. And we'll see where the Cowboys line Parsons up. No matter where they line him up in this game, he's going to have an advantage. I think the best strategy here would be to line him up as close to the quarterback as possible and create that quick pressure and make it so Burrow can't step up on the pocket, make him drift out to his right and have to throw on the run that way. You cannot be passive. You cannot rush forward in this game and just expect to get pressure that way because Burrow's going to get rid of the ball really quickly and accurately, and the receivers can make plays after the catch. I also want to mention the run game. Like over the last couple of weeks, they've gotten really good play from Chase Brown, who is super dynamic. He can make plays after contact. This is just a really good offense any way that you slice it, despite having some massive holes on their offensive line. But that's what an elite quarterback can do. He can cover up a lot of warts on one side of the ball, at least.
Yeah. The Cowboys' best option is, like you mentioned, pressing the offensive line, the line advantage, right? Like just trying to disrupt things so that they can't have long developing plays down the field. Trying to find a way to continue to be a solid run defense like we've seen these last few weeks. Look, they're not gonna try to run the ball a ton. Like they want to throw the ball. Like we mentioned, Burrow is the number one leader in the NFL in attempts, right? Yeah. And so I think some of that is to do with game script and because they've had some situations where they've been behind, but not only they want the ball.
Like they're okay. They're okay having those drives of like 9 straight passes. Like they're not going to stress about it.
Absolutely. So that's what the Cowboys need to be prepared for. It's going to be Burrow's trying to take chunks out of this defense. They need to find ways to prevent Burrows from getting the opportunity to like really take the bigger chunks, right? Like attack the middle of the pocket, make it so that if he's going to throw the ball, it's going to be short passes. They'll still hurt you with those too. Yeah. Like that, they're good with that. But I think that's still a better strategy to kind of draw out the game, make Burrows, march the field. He can do that, but it still at least slows down the process of scoring. And then maybe on the other side of the ball, you can contain the ball a little bit, limit the number of possessions. Ball bounce is funny, and you hope you win the game. But it's a tough quarterback to go against.
And that's the thing. Like Burrow's going to get his points in this game. Like you're not going to win this game 17-13. You're going to have to try to figure out ways to get turnovers and then capitalize off those turnovers. Whether it's tipping a pass at the line of scrimmage that gets picked off, or a strip sack, or forcing a fumble. Like that's how the Bengals have lost games this year. Yeah. Their offense has been super dynamic, but they've had a lot of bad luck when it comes to turnovers. You're going to need it to win this one.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to make your own luck there, right? Create interceptions, pressure causing an errant throw and Trayvon or
Yeah.
Daron like stepping in front of a ball, or Micah coming around the edge, getting his hand on that football as he's sacking the quarterback. You're going to need every one of those plays, punching the ball out of the ball carrier, right? You're going to need every one of those plays in order to, have enough possessions to try to even win a game against a quarterback like this.
All right, let's talk about the Cowboys offense, which they should be able to cook in this matchup. Will they? We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity, so don't waste it scrolling through the same mind-numbing content for hours and hours. How can you spend it wisely to improve yourself? Through history, economics, and the great works of literature. Our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including Constitution 101, the meaning and history of the Constitution, Introduction to Free Market Economics, The Great American Story, A Land of Hope, and the rise and fall of the Roman Republic. All of Hillsdale's courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in wherever. Plus, you can go deeper with readings, quizzes, and discussions, or just kick back and enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost and it's easy to get started. That is hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. If you love watching the game, you're going to love Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy, whether it's football, basketball, or any of your favorite sports. Prize Picks makes your holidays bigger and brighter. Here's why you need to check it out. You can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away over $30 million in rewards during Picksmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. This week, I'm looking for Rico Dowdle, who we're going to talk about in just a couple minutes, to go over 50 rushing yards on Monday night. It's quick, it's simple, it's so much fun to challenge myself and my friends. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Later, let's talk about the Cowboys offense, which has been very up and down the last couple weeks. But man, they couldn't be in a better spot here. You've had 11 days to get ready for this game, and the Bengals are a mess on defense. Logan Wilson, their star linebacker, is out. Their cornerback situation has been brutal all year. DJ Turner, their slot corner, or one of their outside corners, is out. Their best defensive tackle, Sheldon Rankins, is out.
Right.
This has got to be a game where the Cowboys score 24 points at least. At least.
Yeah. It's funny. Like you're listening to the first segment of the show, and you're hearing us talk about Joe Burrow and these receivers and the passing attack that this group has is on an MVP level run. He's having one of the best passing seasons in recent history. Honestly, not even just this year, right? How is this team, not even a 500 team? How is this team, struggling so much? May we present the Bengals defense? It is historically bad. Yeah. Cowboys thought they had a bad defense. Buddy, go check out what the Bengals have been doing. Even early on when the Cowboys were really, really bad, Bengals were worse. It's just, and you mentioned it. And much like the Cowboys defense, it's not one thing. It's a series of several different things. Except the thing that's a little frustrating for the Bengals, well, probably very frustrating for the Bengals, is that this is the same defensive coordinator they've had since they went to the Super Bowl. This is the same guy that was getting head coaching names dropped on him for the last few years. So This isn't a situation where they're learning a new defense or they're in transition or anything. Like, this is a combination of injury and bad play. And right now, because of all that, that's the opening that has been provided for the Cowboys, right? Is that we talked about the way to win this game because of who you're playing on the other side of the ball was to run the football, contain the ball, possess the ball, so you're not giving it back to Joe Burrow. I think that this sets up really well. This defense and the way that it's been playing sets up really well for the Cowboys to be able to do that. Obviously, they've been dealing with Cooper Rush. I think he's played a lot better football these last few weeks. It's still been very up and down, even for, the expectation of playing with a backup quarterback, and not all of that has been on Cooper. So I would like to see some kind of evening out by guys like, I'd like to see CeeDee Lamb have a better game this week, right?
Sure.
And even though he's banged up, but I do think that the focus, the main focus here is producing first downs, running the football, possessing the ball, and then you just have to find a way to put it in the end zone. Like this is not a team where you can win with field goals.
Nope.
If you're trying to win this game, when you get into the red zone, I mean, honestly, if I'm the Cowboys, I'm taking shots from the high red zone just because I just more and more opportunity.
I think once you get inside the 20, field goal should not be an option unless you're like at 4th and 11 or you have to score touchdowns in this game.
And the Bengals are going to let you, right? Like the Bengals are bottom 5 in red zone defense. I'm pretty sure they're bottom 5 in third down defense as well. They really, really are struggling to and look, I understand the Cowboys offense is certainly no prize winner at this point without Dak Prescott, but they've done enough and they've shown you enough as being able to run the football against some good defensive lines that you feel like they should be able to do that in this game. And then if the Bengals are going to play kind of a shell coverage and try to keep it all in front of them and prevent big plays, which that'll be interesting to see, is do the Bengals defense respect Cooper Rush and CeeDee Lamb enough to continue to kind of play a lot of shell coverage like they have these last few weeks. If they do, then I feel like Cooper Rush is going to have a good day throwing the ball short and being accurate, because that's what he does well. You've got Jake Ferguson coming back, so maybe there's more opportunities in the seam. I just think that in a lot of ways, this is not a great matchup, generally speaking, for the Cowboys. But in the particulars, the way that these matchups line up, there is a lot of positive things that the Cowboys can work with that they can actually gain some leverage on.
Well, listen, I've happened to see almost every snap of the Bengals this year. I want to tell you the dilemma they're having on defense right now, and you tell me how you would attack them. So they are primarily, their base defense is their nickel defense. It's a lot like the Cowboys. They are going to stay in their nickel defense all the time. And the reason they do that is their slot corner, Mike Hilton, is probably their best run defender, right? He's legitimately their best run defender. He is awesome coming down from the slot and tackling. Now, the problem is he can get cooked in coverage, which is a rough thing when you're playing against CeeDee Lamb, right? But they can't go to a three linebacker set because they don't have the dudes, and they didn't have them even when they had Logan Wilson. Now they're playing Akeem Davis-Gaither and Jermaine Pratt, both who really struggle to tackle, but they also don't have the defensive tackles up front to hold up in the run game. So if you're the Cowboys, do you try to run against a nickel defense and play more 3 receiver sets and run that way? Or do you try to go 2 tight ends in this game or a fullback and try to play that style of football? I'm not sure. I mean, I think both options would work, but the Bengals have one awesome player on defense, and that is Trey Hendrickson. If you leave him one-on-one, he will kill you. There are a couple games this year. He had 4 sacks against the Raiders earlier this year. I think they have to run the ball. I just don't know if they're going to be better off trying to do it from a power set or running out of 11 and running out of shotgun.
I mean, I think you run the ball and then you force them to react to it. And then I think what you do is, and I'm glad you mentioned those linebackers because I saw those too. And I think what you do is you got Brandon Cooks back. Let's do some more play action crossing route stuff behind those linebackers. They're not going to look. I was on Next Gen Stats last night, and the fastest ball carrier last week was good old 30-year-old Brandon Cooks. He's still pushing 20 plus miles an hour. Yeah. Those linebackers have never even seen 20 miles an hour, probably not even driving in a car. Like if you can get them sucked up at least just one step on a play action, and then you've got Brandon Cooks coming behind them on a crossing route, you're going to be able to get him the ball with some space and be able to run. I think that you're going to be able to everything you just said was fantastic. You're going to be able to get them into bad formations in which you are going to be able to run the football. They're going to play nickel maybe when they shouldn't be. And if they are, then you should run the football. And until they start to commit to the run, that's when passing is going to get even easier. And that's when you should start attacking them in the passing game. And I think you mentioned it because of the linebackers. Like, why even mess on the outside with some of the guys on the perimeter, even though they're susceptible as well. But the mismatches are all in the middle of the field, right? Like if you could find a way to have CeeDee Lamb sit in a linebacker zone against these guys, or you know what I'm saying? Like, there is plenty of opportunity, especially with Ferguson back, to stretch that group vertically. There's plenty of opportunity in the middle of the field to make easy passes, easy completions where your guys can catch the ball and run, and create big plays if you need it. I think really you're just going to have this defense, chase its tail, right? Like, I mean, that's the problem with a bad defense. I mean, this is the issue the Cowboys were dealing with early in the season, is that if you can't stop the run and you're not great against the pass, then what can you do? Like, and I think we're sitting here asking, like, what's the best way to attack this defense? I think what you do is you just attack it in the most efficient manner for your offense, because it doesn't really ultimately matter. And then when they adjust to the short passing attack or the run game, whichever one you decide to deploy, you use the other one, right? You use the constraints against it and have them constantly chasing their tail without any kind of talent in the middle of that defense. It's not really going to be easy for their defense to dictate the terms, even with the backup quarterback.
I watched a breakdown from Josh Norris last week when the Steelers played the Bengals. The Steelers literally ran the same play 7 times in a row and had a successful play on all 7. Basically, they had 4 receivers out. They all ran down the field. Najee Harris would run to a little check down, and the linebackers were dropping so far back that they would get 10 yards every single time on the play. They are just in such a bad spot with their defense. Their safeties are old. The linebackers, they just don't have the guys. Those guys can't move anymore. This has got to be a game where the Cowboys control and dominate on offense. If they don't do it this week, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. I think what you just said is very paramount. And if you want to have a conversation about like the overall health or where this is with the team, I think this is the mile marker. If you can't find a way to be an efficient offense against this Bengals defense, I think we're going to have a conversation at the end of this game, right? Like, if they do what they're supposed to do, hey, we're still in a playoff race, apparently. If they don't, then you're going to have your answer like, no, this team is nowhere near ready. Like, we'll see how the rest of the season goes. But to me, if this offense can't get it together against this Bengals defense, they're not going to get it together with Cooper Rush as the quarterback for the rest of the season. And that may be realistic. He's a backup quarterback.
All right, let's make our predictions for this Monday Night Football game. Massive game between the Cowboys and the Bengals. We'll give our predictions and thoughts next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That is FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the new Locked On NFL show. 2 shows every single day, 1 in the morning with Tyler Rowland, 1 in the afternoon with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk, available wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Landon, prediction time. Who wins on Monday night?
This is tough, because look, generally speaking, I want to pick the team that has the better quarterback, and there is zero doubt about who has the better quarterback in this game as we stand here today. But there are a lot of very easy to access paths to victory for this Cowboys team because of the way the Bengals are laid out, right? Like, I can't continuously ignored that, right? Like, I do think the Cowboys are going to be able to run the football on the Bengals. I do think that the Cowboys, if they play similar to how they played these last few weeks, will be able to possess the football. I think the Cowboys, if they have Trayvon Diggs back, finally getting, we didn't even mention that, potentially this is the week, we'll see, that you may be finally getting all three of your starting trio of corners this week. So I think there are things about this that make me want to pick the Cowboys. There are things about this that make me think the Cowboys can pull this off. Having said that, I'm picking the Bengals. I think it's just too much. That they're just too talented, and Burrow is just having a huge a season. And I think this is just another kind of breakout game announcing that they're back. I think the Bengals defense is going to struggle no matter what. I just don't know that the Cowboys offense is going to be able to take advantage the way that we hope they will. I think they'll move the ball, but I think we've seen they struggle to put the ball into the end zone. If that continues, there's just no chance that the Cowboys are going to be able to produce enough points to beat the Bengals. So I'm going to pick the Bengals. I'm going to say, let's say 32-21. But I think it's actually closer than that. I think it's within a touchdown for most of the game. And then by the end of the game, the Bengals kind of pull away a little bit.
Now, what we've seen from the Cowboy-Bengals matchups over the last couple of years, which is funny, this is the third time they've played since 2021, fourth time. I think fourth time since 2020. Is that the Cowboys defense usually has a big advantage in this game because they move Micah around, and Burrow has a hard time setting his feet and throwing the ball. But I think without DeMarcus Lawrence and Sam Williams and some of those other guys, I just don't know if they're going to be able to consistently create pressure outside of Micah.
Yeah,
I agree with everything. I think Dallas is going to be able to move the ball. I do think they're going to get some stops in this game, but my fear is the offense takes a quarter to get going.
Yeah,
and the score might be 17-7 at that point. And it's like, okay, now you're down in this game, and Cooper Rush is having to throw the ball more than you want, and that's just not the recipe for success here. So I think I told you pre-show, I think you're going to know within like the first 10 minutes of this game how it's going to go. I could easily see the Cowboys winning, but I'm going to pick the Bengals here.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at too, right? Whereas I'm picking kind of a lopsided score, but I definitely think that there's opportunity and chances, real chances for the Cowboys to win this game, to the point where I was very much looking at that. Was it the line 5.5 points or something like that? I was looking, I was like, I don't know, man.
It's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points. So I think the Cowboys, if the Cowboys score early in this game, keep an eye on this game. It could be a lot closer than we all expected, for sure.
I think the longer this game goes with it being close, the better. It favors Dallas, right?
Absolutely.
Their defense is just way more talented. We should also mention their kicker, Evan McPherson, out for this game. So they've got a new kicker this week. You never know how that operation is going to work out. So I would honestly, I know people care a lot about the draft position, and I get it. I would love to see the Cowboys defense just dominate this one and hold the Bengals to 20 points and create a bunch of pressure and some sacks. But that would be really fun and exciting for this team moving forward.
I think it would be a good sign to see this team be able to win a game like that, in that manner, right? Like a defensive run game, just to know that they have that club in their bag, right?
Yep.
Like as a team, they can win that kind of game against a playoff caliber quarterback. I think that would be a big boost, more so than the potential 2 spots that you may lose in the draft pick for win.
All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen of the day. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow us on YouTube as well. You can follow Landon on Twitter at McCoolBCB. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. Enjoy Monday Night Football. We'll be back on Tuesday to break it all down.